Now, episode 7 of One Punch Man is definitely what I'm talking about because One Punch Man came back with that hype. Now, don't get me wrong, episode 6, like I said in my last review, it definitely wasn't bad. It was definitely a more mellow episode compared to the other ones. But episode 7 came back with that hype, and this episode was just so freaking strong. And once again, I don't know why, but it seemed like, me watching this episode, it just passed by in an instant. I do wish that this show could be, a bit longer because I don't know why. It just seemed to be so over for me, so quick, man. If only this episode could go past, 24 minutes, that right there will be perfect. But we see now that in the episode itself, it starts off where we have this meteor is slowly making its way toward Earth. Like we have these scientists, some guy who used one of those, massive telescopes. They have both noticed that. And then we have, like NASA or some kind of space, like studying organization. They also noticed it. And then we have, an astronaut, in space as well, doing some kind of work. He also saw that. And right now, this meteor, it is now making its way towards City D, I believe. But then we see now that it actually changed its path, changed its set course for City Z, I believe they said. But regardless, we see now that all of these S-rank heroes, they were now called in because obviously they're the only ones who can, deal with this. And we see now that when Genos, because obviously, they will call him in when he went to the hero, the hero building. We see now that no one was there except for an older man named Bang. And obviously, this guy is very powerful because, even Genos knew how strong this guy was. And not to mention that this guy is an S-rank hero. So of course, this guy is a huge powerhouse. And so we learn now that the reason why Bang here was not evacuated was because his family dojo, which had been around for generations, there was just no way he could not leave that behind. And we see now that his fighters now, it was called water, it was a flowing water, crushing rock. And we see now that the energy or the aura that was coming out from him, to me, it seemed like a dragon. Now, I don't know, maybe that right there was me, looking too far into it, but that right there, looked pretty awesome. But we see now Genos here had already left because we see that even though they have put out the order to evacuate, people only had maybe 30 or so minutes to actually get out. And obviously with everybody panicking and everybody on the road, there was just no way they could actually clear in time. And so we see now Genos here, he actually had a suitcase, and we have no idea, what he was carrying at first. But we see now that when he pressed this button, we saw the suitcase, pretty much transform into these buffed up versions of his arms that actually combine with him. And apparently they're called Armos. Now, I'm not sure if maybe, this suitcase can become, other enhancement for him. But I will say that it did look pretty awesome that when he actually put those on. But we see now that Genos here, he actually, even though he did want to save everyone, he obviously also wanted to test out his new weapon because that right there would be a major asset in his battles if he could, use this new enhanced power to actually destroy this huge meteor. But we see now that Genos was not the only one, was not the only hero to answer this call, because we also have one called what was the name, Boyfu or something like that. But pretty much his hero name went by Metal Knight. And we see now that this guy is actually an S rank. And of course, and obviously, he is a high ranking member because we learned that he is rank 70, at the time of this happening. And so right now we see that, Metal Knight, he was not worried about dying because we see that that right there was just, some, android that he was controlling. And we see now that his real human body, it was somewhere safe. And so right now we see him fire off these rockets, testing his weapon, because that right there is what he came here for. And we see that, he had no interest in helping Genos either, because he was not worried about dying. And that right there is messed up, because you are a hero. That right there should be your main focus, and not just, saving these people. And we see that even though the missiles that he fired have a lot of power, they just were not enough to take out those rockets. And so right now we have Genos here, getting ready to use his new upgrades. And right now, he was definitely feeling nervous, because if it's failure, then obviously everybody's gonna die. And so right now we have Bang appearing once again, and we see him now, calming down Genos, and right now we will see him teaching him a lesson, and that right there gave Genos the strength to not worry about failure or what could happen, because right now, if he gave this his all as possible, he could save everyone. And so we see him now taking out his core, and right now he actually put it into his arm, and we just see him fire this massive blast. And I will say that the animation for this entire scene, it just looks so beautiful, so dynamic. I was just digging it, so much. And so right now we see him, trying to keep this meteor at bay. And we have Bang saying that, it's possible that Genos here could be pushing it back. And at first I thought, that was true, because if so, then that upgrade is a major help. But then when Bang said, that right there might be his imagination, I was just dying laughing, because I thought at first, this guy was so serious. But no, even he can make mistakes. And so obviously Genos' strength, it definitely wasn't enough. And so right now, because he had used his core to amplify his power, obviously now, he feels, very weak. I'm pretty sure that after that, he definitely was running on empty. But luckily, Saitama actually came there. And so right now we see that he told Bang to take care of Genos. And we see now that when this guy, crouched down, to jump off, he actually destroys that roof for the most part. And now we see him obviously charging toward the meteor and using that infamous one punch. He obviously took care of it, but really, he had made, the problem worse, because even though he had destroyed the city, he caused not even millions, $1 billion worth of damage. As we saw, the city was pretty messed up. But then we learned that 3 days later, after it was all said and done, and after all of the destruction had settled down, we see now that no one had died, which is a miracle. I don't understand how no one died from that. But we see now that the city is it's very messed up. It's a wreck. And so right now we learn actually that Genos had moved up from rank 17 to rank 16. The Metal Knight had moved up from rank 6 to rank 5. Or no, or was it rank 7 to rank 6? Yeah, and Saitama, he actually moved up from 342 to rank 5. And even though that right there was a major jump, obviously because Saitama was the one who took out the meteor, this guy should have been, S rank 5, because that right there, seemed impossible at first. But obviously with 2 S ranks there, people thought, or the association thought, that maybe, Genos and Metal Knight did most of the work. And that was just definitely, a downside to, to having those S ranks there. And also I do wonder if Bang got credit, even though, Bang didn't fight, he was still there. So I do wonder if maybe Bang went up in rank, but obviously, he was not mentioned at all. And so now we finally learn the threat level of the world of One Punch Man, because obviously, obviously when the meteor was coming down, that right there, was called a threat level dragon. And so we learn now that there are 4 ranks actually, where we have the Tiger rank, which is the lowest, and that right there is a massive life loss. we have demon rank, which is like city with his city destruction, and then we have dragon rank, which is like multiple city destruction, and finally we have god rank and god level rank, and that right there is like human extinction. And obviously in the opening we always saw Saitama walk right toward those threats, and I always wonder what those mean, and I'm finally glad to learn what they do. And I do wonder if in the anime, if we'll ever come across a god level threat, because that right there would be insane, and I would love to see how in the world would Saitama, deal with that. But right now we have him going out on patrol again, because he is still a C rank, and we see now that while he was like walking around, it's pretty much everything is like still messed up. We see that his favorite supermarket, that right there actually got destroyed, but the apartment building that he actually got kicked out of one time, that right there was like perfectly fine, and we obviously saw that right there annoyed the crap out of him, and I was like dying laughing at that. And so now, we have all the people who have, no place to go, because obviously all their homes were like destroyed. We have the Tank Top Tiger. We have him now making an appearance once again, and we see that this guy obviously holds a grudge against Saitama, because he was a high rank, and now Saitama has like made leaps and bounds and C ranking, and of course now he is the 5th strongest. And so we see that Tank Top Tiger actually has a brother named Black Hole, and this guy wears a black tank top. And so right now we have Black Hole actually, calling out Saitama and everything, making these people, hate on him, because, Genos was saying that, some people do blame it on him, not only for the destruction, but also for bringing the meteor down, in the first place. And so right now Saitama's like getting a lot of hate, but no one, but of course, everyone is aware of this except for him. And so right now, Black Hole was like actually getting everyone, in on this, and we see them all now getting this like mob mentality. And so we see that, even though people will hate on him, Saitama, was like not really caving in. We just saw him, look annoyed. And so eventually now we have Bang appearing, and obviously, Bang knows that Saitama was the one who definitely saved the city, which is why, he was not going to say anything. And then we have Genos, who after looking at forums of Saitama, he had finally appeared, but after getting everyone's attention around Saitama, we have Black Hole, who actually gets an idea of like taking him out, because that way not only could they ruin Saitama in ranking, they could also move up themselves. But there is no way, that would work. But we see now that, Tank Top Tiger is called that because he actually fights like a tiger. But obviously, we never saw just how in the world he really does fight, because, obviously Saitama handled him, gave him the hand, or should I say, he had gave him that one punch, and that knocked him out. And then we have, Black Hole, who apparently has like, I would not say super strength, but he has like very enhanced strength. And of course, he was no match from Saitama, who actually took hold of his hands and was like crushing them. And so right now, Black Hole was like crying like a little girl. And of course now he has said that like he was sorry for lying and everything. But Saitama was like, no, you're like telling the truth, because he was saying that he was the one who actually smashed that meteor. But if people actually want to complain, take it up with the meteor, not with him, because he was the one that saved the city. And so right now we have someone actually complaining, about their car being destroyed, but Saitama was not really caring at all. And it was definitely hilarious, to see him, losing his cool. And he even called them baldies, even though the only one who was bald was like him. I was just dying laughing at that. But Genos was there, and we see them now that when Genos came, those two had left, and we see now that And we see now that Genos here was like, giving Saitama compliments, like trying to like butter him up because obviously all those hurtful words, could get to him, but obviously, they did not. So that right there was like definitely a good thing as well. And so that right there was like pretty much where the episode ended. Oh, and also there was like one scene where we have Saitama, dropping this wisdom because, like there was some quote he said that if all the heroes leave, then who will protect the city? And that right there, really hit Genos here, and we see him now writing that down multiple times. And also that right there was hilarious. But we see now that at the end, we have these monsters who don't believe that, Saitama being a rank C was the one who had, destroyed the meteor. So right now, that right there is a rank to them. But we see in the ocean, we have all these monsters in the sea, and we see them now, walking forward. And I do wonder if this right here, what was hinted at last week, and I also wonder what in the world are like all these monsters planning. But like I said, this episode to me, it was freaking fantastic. Like I said, One Punch Man came back strong after that chill episode, last week. And for that, I definitely love it. It was a great, fantastic episode. But as always, let me know what you guys thought. And please do not forget to like and subscribe because it really helps me out. But as always, you guys take it easy. And I will see you all next time.